starting on my filling for my apple pie. Type of apples you want to use. I'm using Granny Smith right here. You can use a Braeburn, you can use a Fuji, there's a Pink Lady, Jonathan. Those are nice baking, cooking type apples. They're a little bit tart. They're not quite of a crisp apple as a like a Red Delicious or a Golden Delicious. I'm using Granny Smith today. We've used Braeburns quite a bit. I like those type of apples. What I've done is I sliced and cored them. You want, for this pie I'm making, a 9-inch pie, you want about 2 pounds of apples after you have cored and sliced them. I sliced them into not real thin slivers, but I try to get them fairly thin so that they bake and cook more evenly for you. So I got them going now, just bringing some of the natural juices out, and I'll add some sugar to them. Now add a little butter. I'll let them start to saute. Once they start to soften a little bit, I'm going to add my cornstarch. And what I'm doing, I'm using some of the natural juices from the apples to make my slurry, which is the thick sauce you would have in the apples. It's already starting to soften a little bit. I got my cornstarch mixture here. Let that cook. Then what I got here, I got a mixture of cinnamon, sugar, nutmeg. Just kind of got them all sifted together. Then I got butter and lemon juice that goes in yet. So I'm going to put in my additional sugar, cinnamon, my butter, kind of let this all come together. Some of the smaller pieces that I got cut really thin and small, they've kind of broken down. You can kind of see the sauce that I've made there. Put a little lemon juice in it. And if you want, sometimes I add a little more cinnamon to it, so I like cinnamon. Okay. Okay. Now our filling is ready for the pie shell. Okay, got our sauce all ready here. What I want to do now is transfer it from the skillet and put it in my bowl. And the reason why I want to do that, we want this filling to cool. If we took this right from the skillet and put it right into our pie shell, which is a soft dough to start with, the heat from the filling itself would make the dough really soft. It would absorb a lot of the moisture, and you could have a real moist, soggy type bottom on your pie once it even gets baked. So the reason why I take it out of the skillet, because I put it in a separate bowl. A separate bowl, even a plastic one, will help it cool a little quicker. Won't retain as much heat. You can kind of stir this occasionally, just kind of get some of the heat out of it. And then once it gets cooled down, fairly cool and about room temp, you can go ahead and transfer it to our pie shell. Okay, I've let my filling cool for about 10 minutes. It may take a little longer, 10 to 15 minutes. Depends on, if you put it in a cooler or refrigerator. Main thing, just kind of keep it stirred, get some of that heat out of it so it's not real warm when it goes into your pie filling or pie shell. So I got my shell here that I rolled out earlier. Left my little flange on the side here hanging out. I'll take my filling and just pour it into my crust. Take my spatula and get all the good stuff out of it. Okay. Just kind of flatten her down evenly. Okay. This pie here, you can do different things with it. You can crimp your crust down, make a streusel topping, which is just a blend of flour, sugar, butter. Comes into a crumbly stage, and you just do a crumb top or a Dutch apple top. You can do a solid top where you take your pie dough and roll it out just like I did for my bottom crust, and lay that on top. Pinch your ends down, cut a couple vents in there. You can bake it like that. I'm going to do a lattice top. I think the other two is kind of boring. I like doing a lattice top. Looks a lot nicer. Looks more homemade. You see the filling a lot more. Looks really presentable if you take it to grandma's or your mother-in-law's for Thanksgiving dinner or whatever you want to go with it. So even for your wife, you want to do something for your wife at home some night. Hey, look, honey, look what I did today while you was at work. I made an apple pie for you. So it all works. So I went ahead and I rolled my dough out and I cut my strips already to the width that I want. You want to keep them as even in width as you can so it looks really consistent. And you want different lengths because you're going to do some cross threading with this here. Got a little egg wash made up. What I want to do, I want to brush the edge of my crust down. And this works as a glue so the lattice top will kind of stick to each other. So I'll start across the pie. Takes a little time to do this, but I think the pie looks really nice when it's all done. Try to keep them the same width apart. Now I got them laid across this way. Now we're going to do a lattice top. And you can just lay them across the top and be done with it. But this here, if you take them and do like a basket weave, that way they look like they're coming underneath each other. Has a real nice look to it. Takes a little time, but then when you're showing it off to the relatives, they look, wow, you did that? Sure did. So you're going to start under my first one, over my next one, and then under. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. Okay. So I went under, over, under, over. Don't get mixed up. Okay, my next one will be over, under, over, under. And you can kind of move them, adjust them a little bit as you're going along here. So I got 4 this way, and I want 4 the other way. So next one will be under, over, under, over. Okay, next one will be over, under, over, under. Okay, so now we got them all laid out. Now we want to go down, just trim off our excess. All the way around the pie. Now I'm going to take this excess dough and just going to roll it under. This way the lattice top, the ends will seal up. And you can do this dough, your bottom crust ahead of time, put it in the cooler and let it stay chilled, but you just want to keep in mind that when you want to crimp it down, you want to make sure this dough comes out and it softens up so you can do that. If you don't, it's going to be hard and it's going to break and crack on you. So I went all around the pie. Now you can kind of do the little crimp with your fingers. Go around it, put a little crimp in it, or you can take the fork and press it down with a fork. But I like doing this. You don't want a lot of dough, excess dough hanging over or up the top here, because too much dough, if it gets too soft, what it'll do, when it bakes, it'll kind of droop and it'll fall off. So I'm going to press that down so it kind of sticks to the top of the pie pan. Okay. Now I want to take my egg wash. What egg wash is, I just taken whole eggs, scramble them up, put some water in, dilute it down. You don't want a whole egg. You want to dilute it down so it's has some liquid to it. If you get too much egg, when you brush it onto your pie, what will happen with the sugar, it'll brown up too much. You might have black spots on it, so you want to dilute it down. I'm just going to brush the top of my pie. This will give a nice color to it. Then I'll take some sugar. And what I have here, I have a coarse sugar. It's like little crystals. It's real coarse, grainy. It's just used for garnish on pastry items like pies, puff pastry items. You want to have that nice crunchy look to it. It doesn't really brown. It has more of a clear look to it. You can use regular granulated sugar at home. Will work too. So I'm just going to dust the top with the sugar. And then put it on my sheet pan. Now if this dough has been out for a while and it's kind of soft, what I usually do is stick it back into the refrigerator or the cooler and let that dough firm up. Like I said, it may take another 10 to 15 minutes to get that dough nice and cold again, and then pop it into the oven. And it's going to take probably 45 minutes to an hour to bake. It just depends on your oven, if you're baking at 375. I go by crust color. Keep in mind that you already cooked the fruit. The fruit's been sauteed, it's softened a little bit. So mainly what you're doing is letting that crust get some nice color to it. The cornstarch, the sugar, the cinnamon that's already in the pie acts as a gel, and it'll start to come together as when it starts baking, and it will make your syrup in there, and that will make the pie set. But your apple's already fairly tender, and your crust, during the baking process, you're just looking more for color on your crust. So general rule, 45 minutes to an hour, and then once you get some nice color on it, like a golden brown, then it's ready to come out and serve. Okay, our apple pie just came out of the oven, been in there about 50 minutes roughly. You can see how it's colored up on top, got a nice light golden brown on it. Another way of telling too, if you're saucing your pie, where it's like the apple one, it starts to bubble a little bit, boil out a little bit, that's an indication that it's ready to come out. But I go by color myself, just a nice light golden brown on your pie. Your crust is set up really nice, and it's ready for service.